I never thought betrayal would come wrapped in something so beautiful. For most of my life, I believed that heartbreak announces itself, like a distant storm rolling in, giving you time to prepare your defenses. But the night I discovered that my girlfriend, Anna, had cheated on me, it didn't arrive as thunder. It arrived as a whisper. A flicker. A fracture so small it was almost invisible, until it wasn't. Anna and I had been together for almost 4 years, the kind of stretch that feels both endless and impossibly short at the same time. Everyone says that relationships mellow with age, that the spark settles into something less blazing but more warm. Ours didn't feel like that. If anything, we felt like a pair of flints that spark to life every time they touch. There was comfort, yes, but also energy. A pulse, at least, that's what I thought. Anna was the kind of woman you didn't forget easily. Warm brown eyes, dark hair that curled naturally no matter how many times she claimed she straightened it, a laugh that filled rooms. She loved small things, too, handwritten notes, collecting postcards from cities she'd never visited, singing terribly in the car. It was hard not to love someone who seemed to love the world so fully. Her job as an interior designer often meant long days and occasional weekend projects. Mine, IT consulting, was more structured, predictable. I liked it that way. Predictability is safe, but safe is often the last thing life allows you to keep. The shift was subtle, so subtle that if I hadn't replayed every moment in my mind afterward, I might have missed it completely. 3 months before everything fell apart, Anna started working on a new project. A fancy, high-budget renovation for a corporate client. Dream project, she called it. She would come home tired but excited, talking about the design challenges, the client's impossible expectations, and the team she was leading. She mentioned a name, Evan. He was a new assistant on the project, fresh out of architecture school but a genius with details. I didn't think much of it. She worked with men all the time. I wasn't the jealous type. Or maybe I wasn't that type yet. But then her schedule shifted, late nights more often, weekend meetings, early mornings. The project, she said, was demanding. I believed her, because that's what trust does. It fills in the blanks for you. One night she fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from another marathon workday. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Once. Twice. Then again. Normally I ignored her notifications. We both valued privacy. But it vibrated so many times I thought it might be urgent. What if it was a client emergency? A family issue? Something she would want me to wake her for. The screen lit up, 5 messages from a contact labeled E. My stomach tightened, not because of the messages, but because of the abbreviation. I brushed it off at first. She used initials sometimes, but then it lit again. E. I can still taste you. The world didn't stop. It just tilted, sharp enough to throw every piece of my reality across the floor. A second message appeared. E. Next time don't tease me and then leave my car like that smirking face. I froze. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't feel anything but the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. My first instinct wasn't anger. It was denial. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's taken out of context. But then the third message came. You're worth every risk. I put the phone down as if it had burned me. I stared at the ceiling, listening to Anna's soft breathing on the couch. The same woman who'd kissed me goodbye that morning. The same woman who had laughed at my joke during breakfast. The same woman I had loved with such certainty that I never imagined a life without her. It felt like someone had peeled my chest open with their bare hands. When Anna woke up, rubbing her eyes and yawning, everything in me wanted to scream. To demand answers. To throw the phone in her lap and ask who the hell he was. But I didn't. Instead, I said nothing. I stared at her like a stranger had walked into my home wearing her skin. She noticed. "You okay? You look pale." I forced a smile. "Just tired." I lied because I needed time. To think, to breathe, to not explode. That night I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined them together, laughing, touching, shedding clothes that I once thought were mine to remove. But the truth doesn't go away just because you hide from it. So the next morning, I waited until she left for work, then opened her phone. I hated myself for doing it. I hated her for making me feel like I needed to. The messages were worse than I expected, not explicit. Not graphic. Just intimate, words that belonged to lovers, not coworkers. Flirty remarks. Inside jokes. A thread of affection long enough to wrap around my throat. And then a message from Anna herself, sent the day before. "Anna, last night shouldn't have happened. I don't know what came over me. Evan, you kissed me first." I dropped the phone, my vision went blurry. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding like a drum. For years together, undone in 4 inches of phone screen. That evening, I didn't pretend anymore. She walked through the door and smiled at me, tired, beautiful, unaware that her entire world was about to collapse. "Hey, babe. Who's Evan?" The color drained from her face immediately. A subtle twitch. A hesitation so small most would miss it. I didn't. Her voice cracked. "He's just someone I work with." "Someone you kiss?" She froze. Her bag slipped from her hand and hit the floor. You went through my phone?" "I did." Her eyes filled with tears almost instantly. "I can explain, please do," I said, my voice shaking with barely contained fury and heartbreak. "Because from here, it looks like you cheated on me." She stepped closer, reaching out. "It was a mistake, I swear." "It meant nothing." "A mistake?" I laughed, but it sounded broken. "You don't accidentally end up in someone's car tasting like them." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "It was one night. I was frustrated. We argued that day. I felt disconnected. But afterward I felt awful. I told him it couldn't happen again, but you kept messaging him." She had no answer. None that mattered. She slept on the couch that night. Not because I told her to, but because she knew she didn't deserve to be near me. I lay in our bed staring at the ceiling, feeling like the world had become unfamiliar. The next morning, she left early for work. I didn't follow her. I didn't write. I didn't call. I needed distance or I was going to drown. But distance gives you room to think, and thinking is the cruelest punishment of all, because when the anger fades, all that's left is grief, and grief. Grief is merciless. Over the next week, I kept replaying everything: her laughter, her morning kisses, her late nights, her tired excuses, her new perfume she said the office gifted her. All the signs were there. All the pieces I didn't connect. I wondered how long she'd wanted someone else, if she compared us, if she kissed him the same way she kissed me, if she had whispered his name in the dark. Every unanswered question carved another wound. I didn't want to break up. But I didn't know how to stay either. she sent long texts, apologizing again and again. She begged me to talk. She said she'd quit her job. She said she'd cut him off. She said she loved me and only me, but betrayal changes the meaning of words you thought you understood. One night, about a week later, I sat alone in the kitchen, reading through her messages again, not to torture myself, though it felt like that, but because I needed clarity, and that's when I saw it, a small detail I'd missed, an old message buried in the thread. Evan, I still can't believe we almost got caught on Wednesday. Wednesday, she told me she worked late that Wednesday. Wednesday was the night she came home with those paint samples, the night she said she was too tired for dinner, the night she kissed me absent-mindedly, the way someone kisses a habit, not a lover. It wasn't one night. It wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, a choice, and choices reveal the truth of someone far more than regrets ever do. I wish I could say that after discovering the truth, everything became clear, that the fog lifted, the pieces aligned, and I suddenly knew what to do. But heartbreak doesn't work like that. The night I realized Anna's cheating wasn't a single lapse in judgment but a repeated choice, something inside me cracked in a way that couldn't be repaired with apologies and promises. Yet I still didn't walk away. Part of me feared that if I let her go, I'd lose not just our relationship, but the version of myself that existed within it. Because when you love someone deeply, pain becomes a strange kind of gravity. It keeps you tethered even as it tears you apart. Anna showed up at my apartment the next morning without warning. I heard the urgent knocking and knew instantly it was her. No one else knocked like that, with hesitation behind the force, as if bracing for impact. When I opened the door, she was standing there with red, swollen eyes, her hair in a messy bun, and a trembling jaw. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Maybe she hadn't. Please, she whispered. Let me in. Some part of me wanted to close the door. To protect myself. To send a message that pain has a boundary, but I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like she wasn't sure she was still welcome in a space she once lived in. Her eyes traveled over the furniture, the photographs, the plants she bought, almost as if she was cataloging a life she might lose. She turned to me. You haven't answered my messages. What is there to say? Her breath hitched. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. Every day. Every minute. Sorry for kissing him? I asked coldly. Or for the nights you didn't come home and told me it was work? She flinched like I'd slapped her. That only happened twice. Twice? I cut in, laughing bitterly. Twice that you admit. Her shoulders curled inward. There is no long-term affair. I swear to you. It was messy. It was confusing. I crossed a line I never should have. But it wasn't a relationship. Then what was it? I demanded. What did he give you that I didn't? She moved closer but stopped halfway, as if afraid the air itself might push her back. It wasn't about him. Please believe me. I wasn't looking for someone else. I was scared. I felt overwhelmed with work. I felt like you were drifting too, like we were becoming routine. It was stupid and weak and selfish. I felt attention from someone new and I let it happen. That doesn't justify anything. I know, she said through sobs. But I love you. I love you so much it hurts. I can't lose you. I looked at her, not the woman I loved but the woman who broke me. And yet, her pain looked real. Too real, but guilt always looks like sincerity. That's the trap. We talked for hours. She cried. I listened. I asked questions I wasn't ready to hear the answers to. She swore it wasn't ongoing. She swore she'd cut him off. She swore she'd do anything to rebuild us. Just give me a chance, she whispered. One chance. Let me prove I'm not this mistake. And maybe I'm an idiot, or maybe love makes fools out of all of us. But I agreed, not forgiveness, not a clean slate, just time, 30 days, I said quietly. Space. No contact with him. No lies. No excuses. She nodded so quickly it almost hurt to watch. I'll do anything. But promises in the aftermath of betrayal feel like temporary stitches holding together a wound still bleeding underneath. Still, she started making changes. She quit the project. She blocked Evan. She started coming home early. She was attentive, too attentive, like someone trying to outrun her own guilt. But even then, something felt wrong, like we were rehearsing a play instead of living a life. 2 weeks later, I got a message, not from Anna, not from a friend, from Evan, the man she cheated with. His number wasn't saved, but I knew it was him instantly. The message was long. Too long, the kind of long that starts with, "I'm sorry to reach out, but you deserve to know the truth." My stomach twisted. My hands went numb. The truth? What truth could possibly make this worse? I read the message slowly, every word scratching its way across my chest. He said Anna didn't just kiss him once. He said she wasn't confused or pressured. He said she initiated most of it. Not once, not twice, but over the course of 2 months. He said she told him I was emotionally distant. That she wasn't sure we'd last, that she liked the escape, and then the final blow. I'm not reaching out to ruin anything, but she told you I kissed her first. It was her. Every time. I sat in my chair for nearly an hour, staring at the message, unable to breathe. My entire body felt hollow. She lied, not just about what happened, but about who she was during it. If her words were a wound, this message was salt rubbed straight into it. I didn't reply. I didn't delete it either. I simply waited for her to come home. Anna walked through the door with takeout in her hands. Thai food, my favorite. She was smiling softly, like she believed we were slowly finding our way back to each other. I wish I could say I slammed the message in her face the second I saw her. That I confronted her with fiery confidence and righteous anger. But that's not how betrayal works. Sometimes it breaks you in silence first. She noticed my expression immediately. What's wrong? I held up my phone. He messaged me. Anna froze. Her lips parted but no sound came out. A deer in headlights. A liar caught without a script. What? What did he say? She asked quietly. You tell me. Her voice trembled. Probably lies. He's been bitter ever since I cut things off. So it wasn't one night? She swallowed hard, so hard, her silence answered everything. How many times? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Please, she begged. Don't do this. How many times, Anna? She wrapped her arms around herself. 4. I stared at her, disgusted, heartbroken, exhausted. 4. But that wasn't the truth. Not according to Evan. So you're still lying to me. She shook her head violently. No, I'm not. He says it was months. He's trying to hurt me. She cried. To hurt us. Why would he lie? Because I rejected him. Because he wanted more and I didn't. Because he's angry. Her desperation was real. But so was her deceit. Her eyes darted, her hands shook. She couldn't look at me straight. Tell me the truth, I said quietly. All of it. Right now. Or we're done. Her breath came out uneven, her gaze dropped, her shoulders trembled, and then she said it. It was more than 4. I felt a punch in my chest. How many, Anna? She shut her eyes as if the dark behind her eyelids could hide her shame. 10, she whispered. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because sometimes pain reaches a point where your body doesn't know what else to do, and you still wanted to fix us? Yes, she cried. Because it ended. Because I realized it was wrong. Because I realized I could lose you. You already did. She fell apart, crying, begging, promising, apologizing so hard she could barely breathe. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't say cruel words. I simply looked at her the way you look at a painting you once admired, one you suddenly realize is just an imitation of something beautiful. I loved you, I said quietly. So much. But the person I loved doesn't exist anymore. She moved her things out 2 days later. Her friends came to help. I didn't speak to her. I didn't even watch her leave. Breaking up isn't a dramatic moment with shouting and doors slamming. Sometimes it's just silence, a silence so heavy you feel it pressing on your lungs. After she left, the apartment felt strange, like a museum of memories I didn't want anymore. I boxed up everything that reminded me of her, the postcards, the sweater she left on the chair, the mug she insisted tasted better for coffee, the stupid plant she named Harold. I didn't throw it all away, not yet. I wasn't ready to erase a life I spent years building. But I also couldn't look at it, not without feeling like someone was pressing a thumb into a bruise. A week later, Evan called me. I didn't want to answer. But curiosity is a vicious thing, especially when your heart still aches. When I picked up, his voice was calm, regretful, not arrogant like I expected. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, he said. I didn't know she had someone. She told me you were basically done. She lied, I replied coldly. I know that now. There was a long pause. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said. I just wanted to give you closure. It wasn't some emotional thing for her. She wasn't in love with me. I think she was just using me to escape something. I don't care what she was escaping. You will, he replied, tone shifting. Because she wasn't just overwhelmed with work. She was overwhelmed with you. My jaw clenched. What does that mean? She told me you were distant. That you didn't support her dreams. That you were too controlling. I laughed sharply. I let her do whatever she wanted. I never held her back. That's what I thought, he said softly. But that's not what she said. His words weren't accusations. They were pity, and pity is sometimes worse than anger. Why tell me all this now? I asked. Because she needs help, he said quietly. More than you can give. She was unstable, man. Not because of you. Not because of me. Just inside. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't want to feel sorry for her, but I also couldn't deny the possibility that she was broken long before she broke us. 2 days later, I found an envelope taped to my door, my name written on the front, her handwriting, shaky. I didn't open it at first. I wasn't sure I wanted to read anything she had to say, but curiosity is a cruel companion. Inside was a handwritten letter, 3 pages long. In it, she told me everything, her anxiety, her fear of failure, her self-esteem issues, the pressure at work, the loneliness she felt but never expressed. She admitted the cheating started because she wanted validation. Not love. Not a relationship. Just the feeling of being wanted. Of being admired. I broke myself before I broke us, she wrote. But the moment I hurt you was the moment I realized I couldn't fix any part of myself. Her final line stayed with me for days. You were the safest place I ever had, and I destroyed it because I didn't know how to stay. I cried, not because I wanted her back, but because there's nothing more tragic than loving someone who never learned to love themselves. I thought that once Anna moved out, the hard part would be over, but grief doesn't follow a timeline, and healing isn't linear. Some days I woke up feeling free, like I'd finally stepped out of a house that had been burning behind me for months. Other days felt colder, heavier, like I was wading through the ashes of everything I thought my future would be. The truth is, heartbreak isn't one emotion. It's all of them, layered on top of each other like sediment you never agreed to bury. After Anna left, my apartment felt like an abandoned museum. Her absence was a presence of its own, loud, echoing, unsettling. I avoided the bedroom for weeks. I slept on the couch, surrounded by the flicker of late-night shows I wasn't really watching. I ate takeout or sometimes forgot to eat entirely. I worked longer hours just to avoid being alone with my thoughts. Friends told me to go out, to get back into dating, to move on. But moving on isn't an action, it's a process, and I wasn't ready to rush that process just to prove something to people who weren't the ones bleeding. Everywhere I went, something reminded me of her. Her favorite bakery on the corner, the park where we had our first real argument, the restaurant where she cried because she thought she was losing herself in work. Little memories became landmines. Never predictable, always devastating. Still, I kept going, even if it was slow, even if it was painful. Healing was happening quietly in the background, even when I didn't feel it. About 2 months after the breakup, I went to a friend's small gathering. I didn't want to go, but isolation had become too comfortable, and I knew I needed to step outside my mental prison. The apartment was warm, filled with low music, people laughing, the dull hum of life continuing. I poured myself a drink and went out to the balcony for air, and that's when I saw her, not Anna, but the last person I ever expected, or wanted, to see, Evan. We locked eyes, both stunned. He approached slowly, cautiously, like he wasn't sure I'd deck him on sight. Honestly, I wasn't sure either. "Hey," he said quietly. "I didn't know you'd be here." "Yeah. Same for me." An awkward, painful silence followed, then he cleared his throat. "Can we talk? Just for a minute. I won't bother you after this." I didn't want to talk to him, but I also didn't want him hovering nearby all night, stealing my peace, so I nodded once. He leaned against the railing beside me, keeping a careful distance. "I know I apologized before," he began, "but I wanted to tell you something else. Something I didn't say during that call." I stayed silent. He exhaled slowly. "She lied about a lot of things, man. To both of us. But she also said things about you that didn't feel like lies." I finally looked at him. "What do you mean?" "She talked about you constantly," he said. "And not in the way you think. She never said she didn't love you. She said she wasn't enough for you." My chest tightened. She felt like she was failing at everything, he continued. "Her job. Your relationship. Herself. She was terrified of showing you her weaknesses. She could have talked to me. She didn't know how." I hated how familiar that sounded, how true. "There's one more thing," he said. "After you broke up, she went to therapy." That caught me off guard. She said she hit her rock bottom when she realized she hurt the only person who ever genuinely cared for her. I didn't respond. I didn't know how. "She wasn't a villain," he said softly. "Just someone who didn't know how to carry her own weight." For the first time since the breakup, I saw him not as the enemy, but as someone who'd also been caught in the collateral damage of her self-destruction. It didn't excuse anything, but it reframed everything. "Thanks," I finally said. And surprisingly, I meant it. He nodded once and went back inside. I stayed on the balcony for a long time, staring at the city lights, letting his words settle into the cracks I'd been trying so hard to fill. 3 more weeks passed. Then one night, around midnight, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize, but I knew instantly who it was. Anna. My heart thudded painfully. I stared at the screen for almost a full minute before finally opening the message. "I'm sorry to reach out. I won't bother you again. I just wanted to tell you. Thank you." "Thank you," another message came, "for loving me when I didn't know how to love myself, for seeing things in me that I didn't see, for trying. Truly trying." My throat tightened. "I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself, not to get you back. I know that's not fair to ask, but because I don't want to be the version of me that hurt you." Then the hardest line, "I hope you find someone who never makes you question your worth." A single tear hit the screen before I even realized I was crying. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She wasn't begging for another chance. She wasn't rewriting the story. She was taking responsibility in a way she never had before, and that made the pain sharper and softer at the same time. I typed a response slowly, carefully. "Thank you. I hope you find peace, too." I didn't send any more than that. It was enough, more than enough, and somehow, I finally felt the weight lift, not because she apologized, but because I realized I no longer needed answers to move forward. 2 months later, I ran into her friend Claire at a cafe. She recognized me immediately. We exchanged an awkward hello, and I tried to brush past her. But she stopped me gently. "I'm glad I saw you," she said. "There's something I think you should know." My stomach tensed. I wasn't sure I wanted more truth. "It's about that Christmas work trip," she said carefully. I let out a slow breath. "I don't want to revisit. It's not what you think." Her tone was so earnest that I froze. She continued. "Anna told me everything after you two broke up. And she didn't cheat on you during that trip." My heart thudded in my throat. "The cheating happened before," she said. "Weeks before. She tried to end things with him. She really did. She went on that trip trying to be faithful. Trying to prove to herself she could do it." I didn't speak. I couldn't. The reason she seemed off during Christmas wasn't guilt from cheating on the trip, Claire said softly. It was because she was having panic attacks. My entire body went cold. She was terrified you'd notice something was wrong. She didn't want to ruin the holiday for you. Of all the things I expected to hear, this wasn't one of them. She wasn't lying about everything, Claire added. She was messed up, yes. But she wasn't trying to hurt you during that trip. She was trying to save what was left. A painful, complicated warmth spread through my chest. It didn't undo the betrayal, nothing ever could. But it changed the shape of the wound. "She loved you," Claire said gently. "I don't know if that helps or hurts. But it's true." I swallowed hard. "It does both. That means you're healing." And for the first time, I believed it. The seasons changed. Months passed. I started running again, reading again, sleeping in my own bed again. Life found its rhythm. Slowly, quietly, beautifully. One morning, I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about Anna in days. Then weeks. Not with anger, or longing, or bitterness, just acceptance. She was a chapter, a significant one. But no chapter lasts forever. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her pain. I hoped she found peace. And I hoped someday, I'd find someone who loved me without fear, without self-destruction, without the weight of their own ghosts. Someone who would stay not because they needed me, but because they chose me, and maybe that someone was already out there. But for now, I was enough, finally.